You'll gift 5 subs for Hillbilly American. Well, alright, Scarface. You want me to be that much of a sellout? I guess I'll have to. So, talking about this Civ matchup, we got them Italians and them Franks. Both some of them European commie types. So, the thing is, in the early game, got the Franks with the faster working foragers, free farm upgrades, and extra HP on their scouts. Kind of leads you down a very powerful scout rush line of play. And it can be kind of tricky for the Italians to defend that. Despite their cheaper age up being pretty nice in terms of, you know, executing any sort of early feudal age strategy that much more effectively. Doesn't really compete with the raw power of the mighty fine looking Frank scouts. Now, Joe and all, that is kind of just a big old waste of coffee right there. Reaper, you're from one of them commie countries over in Europe. We freed your asses in World War II. I don't care that Switzerland was neutral. Definitely freed from the Nazi menace. Just like in my favorite movie, Inglourious Basterds, where Brad Pitt portrayed pretty much the stereotype that I'm trying to present right now. So, looking like these guys are going to be going up to the feudal age at a pretty reasonable time. No drush shenanigans by the looks of things. I say that, and there's... Okay, yeah. Probably going to be men-at-arm play from Cloud over here. Yeah, 22 pop men-at-arms seems like a pretty good idea from him. Not going on the scout line of play, thinking that, okay, everyone just kind of suspects that the Franks are going to be going for scouts. So I'm going to do something a little bit different, a little bit more aggressive. Viper might not see it coming. Viper is either going down that scout line or that there archer line. I'm sort of tending to believe he's going to be going for scouts at this point just because he doesn't have anyone going over to gold just yet. Yeah, I mean, Franks have a reasonable early game drone and all. You think you're a true Eurocuck and somehow got an American passport? Grannis, thanks so much for continuing the sub gifted to you by Panth 141. Well, you know, howdy and welcome back and all that stuff. So we got the 4-men-at-arm play coming out here from our Cyan player. And this is obviously a very aggressive opening. And will Viper be well positioned to defend against it? Interestingly, he appears to be going for actually going for the double archer range play. But the tower's incoming here. We talked about this a little bit earlier on, where Viper's woodline very exposed and downhill from some towers potentially, and this very aggressive opening from Cloud here could end up being quite successful. Viper is able to take this back gold over here without much threat for the time being, but that's only for the time being. Palisade gates are in fact made out of paper mache, but this house falling up behind it should be reasonably well positioned in terms of stopping our Cyan player for the time being. Grannis, this is my natural tone of voice. I don't really appreciate you mocking my heritage. You know, we here in America are all about our pride and heritage and stuff like that. No, this ain't no Australian voice, Zally. This is definitely good old Pennsylvania twang. discount South America. It's the southern part of America. You know, the South will rise again and all that stuff. Anyway, got this tower coming in here from Viper. He's got like 5 million villagers, also known as 10, repairing it, or building it. And that is more than the 4 villagers building this tower Cloud. So this is going to be a very nicely positioned tower defensively for Viper. And Cloud's going to end up losing some villagers here, and this might end up being a bit of a doubt tower if he's not careful. The villagers are bugging out in terms of the scout and being in the way, but the tower will come up, and that scout needs to scram. These villagers need to skedaddle out of here. Oh yeah, Bug'em. Welcome back to the stream. Got Viper versus Cloud. Viper going to be moving on out with these archers right now. However, the man-at-arms are here, and the fact is, these archers, they just don't have that fletching upgrade. And without fletching, it's going to be pretty tricky for them to actually get any damage done. Shut up, hillbilly. I ain't no hillbilly, I'm a red-blooded American. So it's just like country music. Now, country music is God's music, man. We listen to it on the radio every day, and it plays quality music. Is that NASCAR or NASCAR? That was a solid joke there, ScarfaceFrostborn. For you know, Scandinavian Euro commie. With your free healthcare and not huge military budgets. Your allowing of gay people to marry. Total disgrace to God's green earth. Ooh, I love me some moonshine. You know, Prohibition, it's not been around for a while, but for some reason there are still plenty of counties around these parts that are dry, and you can't buy any alcohol, which unfortunately leads to a lot of drunk driving accidents from people going to a different county and just buying alcohol there, and then drinking, and then coming back to this county. And yeah, it kind of fucks things up and doesn't really solve any problems and just kind of creates more problems, but you know, it would be way too difficult to actually implement some sort of policy change there. Now, we're going to see Cloud here trying to get a watchtower up to defend his woodline, even 2 watchtowers, because as we mentioned in the beginning of this game, got a really easily attackable woodline, especially from uphill where these archers currently are residing for Viper. Howdy, he's. Welcome to the stream. Dahis, I really don't appreciate you not being a fan of my voice right now. This is without my you know, preppy East Coast DC filter. This is my true American voice. It's my real voice, Dahis. Anyway, Cloud's coming in and following up this man-armor aggression with scouts, which you don't see too often, but is actually very powerful in the right circumstance, because usually when your opponent has just a few archers out on the field without fletching, yeah, the scouts are going to do pretty well against that, especially with the Frank, extra 9 HP, going to be needing 3 extra hits to kill a scout, and Viper's army getting totally cleaned up right here. Bye, Dahis. I'm sorry you don't appreciate my beautiful casting. Just like at you know, getting my country fried steak down at the restaurant, the general store. Sure, why not? Let's go with that. Viper's leaping out of this here archer range here for Viper. Gonna be sniping the villager of Mr. Cloud, and Cloud not really, you know, positioning his tower in such a way that it is safe from the attacks of these archers. That's game show great proficiency in European geography. Now, Don's game. Mock Bear Mode, I feel like you're dissing my beautiful accent, and I do declare that I don't really appreciate that. You know, we Americans, we can only go for that sort of fancy commie DC elitist bourgeois stuff for so long. You know, here in America, it's all about the heartland, and we put the heart in the land. Now, the Scouts of Cloud are fairly uncontested in attacking the base of Viper, but for some reason he is deciding to run right into that there Spearman. You want this to be a 2-hour game? I really hope not, Scarface. I mean, why would you ever want to go anywhere but my beautiful farm? There we got a cow named Betsy. Got some chickens in the coop. And got some sheep. Yeah, but you see here, Scarface requested a hillbilly accent, not a southern accent. I mean, this is kind of a hybrid between hillbilly and southern, because I am really bad at accents, which is part of the entertainment, I suppose, here. But anyway, these here scouts are starting to get mopped up by the random pokes of the Mr. Pokey Pokes. However, Cloud will still be able to establish a little bit of a faster castle age time due to the massive investments from Viper in relocating his woodline from over here to over here. This is why, generally speaking, I suggest to players that you don't build the 2 lumber camps on the same woodline, because then you're just leaving yourself that much more exposed to a trush. I can only do 1 accent every game. I don't have the ability to switch back and forth. I gotta get in the zone. Anyway, it looks like these towers were at least well enough positioned defensively, just so that these archers of Viper couldn't really get in on the woodline. This villager is looking a little bit exposed, but beyond that, the rest of these here peasants, these here good country folk, are doing alright. And yeah, this villager might be in a little bit of trouble, but it's still able to get into that there watchtower, get to the local sheriff's office. And actually, Viper will end up losing a couple of archers here for free to that watchtower. So, you're going to have Cloud getting up to that there castle edge right here. And he doesn't really have any stone in the bank, only gathering with 2 villagers. I was wondering if perhaps he would go for a cheap Frank castle drop, maybe like right here, and just knock Viper out of the game right away. But nah, he isn't going to be going for some knights, just a bit more of a standard mid-game transition. And with the 2 villagers still on stone, kind of have to suspect that maybe he's going to go and want to add on some more town centers. We have one coming down right now. Induce Genoese crossbow masterpiece with his forward. Well, Genoese crossbows, they're really good against the Franks in the late game. Because Franks, they don't really, have a great answer to them. Because usually you want, good archer units or good skirmisher units. And that'll be pretty decent against the Genoese crossbows in late game in mass. But Franks, they don't really have good archer units. They're too busy running away, being cowards, not fighting in Iraq with us, not following the lead of their savior in America. I believe that we helped them out in D-Day, and Frank's just totally ungrateful for that. Anyway, Viper's going to be getting up his own defensive castle right here, and will likely be able to produce Genoese crossbowmen quite easily after that. All these knights are going to go down quite quickly. Villager count is about dead even right now. Both players operating on fairly small economies. Have Cloud almost getting up his secondary TC. Belgium, I tend to agree with that line of thinking. I believe that if you even went for a castle drop right on this there hill and just produced a siege workshop after it and went for a 1 TC aggressive all-in play, these things generally can really be tricky for Viper to defend, as he is quite a greedy player. But unfortunately, Cloud not opting to do that, going for a more standard, more economic approach, which I can't really agree with in this here situation, because Viper, with this being his only wood line, if there was a castle over here and maybe some mangonels over here, it's just going to be kind of an insurmountable problem for Viper to deal with. Anyway, crossbows engaging these knights out here in the open do our pretty good upgrades here for our Cyan player. And yeah, with the +2 defense, you can see the power of knights against archers Mopping up all the Vipers there, army right there. Also, looks like Viper will be able to clean up these towers no problem. And with that, he'll have access to this here wood line once again. We're throwing down another take save. Oh, Monk gonna be picked off by these knights. Picked off just like a deer with my shotgun. Because I hunt deer with my shotgun. Yeah, and that sounds about right. I really do think being a bit more aggressive here with Cloud would be pretty good. Viper not going to be getting the thumb ring upgrade as he is going for Genoese crossbowmen, which in the Castle Age fire very slowly. Fire rate of only 3, which is actually about 50% slower than a standard crossbow. But in mass, once you get these guys out and rolling, it's real hard for the Franks to deal with. Both players currently operating off of their 2 their town centers. You know, we here at Ornlu AoE, we're not a big fan of town centers, because we don't like that. They are city folk. Trying to impose all of their tofu and their hair coloring on us good country folk. That is actually something that Ted Drew said at a rally not too long ago, is that people from California were making good Texans like me eat tofu and dye their hair. But yeah, Genoese crossbowmen, they're pretty good against knights, as you can see demonstrated here. As we see Cloud killing his own knight there. That's kind of the price of insubordination right there. That's what happens when you don't go to church on Sunday, man. Yeah, just keep making moves. You know, Mock Bear Mode, I like to think that I'm a man of people. I just do what my viewers tell me to do. And somehow that makes them happy. Not really sure why, but, you know, who am I to judge? Farcom, I don't appreciate that you not realizing that this is not my native tone of voice. This is really what an American sounds like. This is what all Americans sound like. As an American yourself, I'm sure you are aware of this. Viper's also getting that Pavese upgrade. Sounds like pizza to me. That's about all Italians give to the world, that, you know, losing wars. Monk's going to get a conversion nice and comfortably. And with Pavese Pizza, these archers are going to have an extra melee armor, actually giving them the same armor as these +2 knights as far as melee armor goes, which is pretty dope, actually. Villagers will be sniped though, this mangonel is alive. Viper's got to be a little bit careful not to be losing these Genoese crossbows, but with 45 HP and 4 melee armor, they do not die to a single mangonel hit. You think it's very eccentric, Irresange? You know, I just like to think it's truly genuine, because that's the real America that we believe in here at Ornlu AoE. Genoese crossbowmen are walking right into this castle. Just like, you know, my Confederate troops walked into the hills of Gettysburg. Kind of got mopped up, and that's kind of what happens to these Genoese crossbows over here. Also, we got Viper sending out some monks, picking up some relics. Just good stuff from Viper. Going to give him a quite nice advantage as this game goes on. But Cloud, he's going to be our first player to click up to the Imperial Age. Viper might be right on his heels, though, and he will be. Cheaper Italians Imperial Age research. Though we have to imagine that even if Cloud is a little bit faster in Trade War, Viper's 3 castles should make up for a slightly slower Imperial Age time, no problem. Sorry, 2 castles, 3 relics. Viper's road line over here is starting to run a little low, so he's probably going to need to start expanding his economy. Map control is firmly in favor of our Cyan player Cloud, which really begs the question as to why he let Viper grab 3 relics. Probably shouldn't have allowed that at any point in time, ever. Perhaps we're going to see Cloud transition into something that isn't a knight. But with Franks, that's a little bit tricky, because your only other non-knight options are going to be infantry, which are not particularly great against these Genoese crossbowmen either. And looks like a couple mangonels were thrown away by Cloud for free, which again is a little bit questionable. What does a hillbilly monk sound like when it's converting? Sounds like they're taking some sort of squalling anarchist atheist, and they're taking them and they're dumping them in the river. And then they're showing them the voice of God over here. Just like my evangelical radio talk show host told me to do. To take them Hillary supporters and just dunk them in a river. Show them the voice of God. Zally, we don't believe in any communist talk around here. We're red-blooded Americans. So Imperial Age is now starting to come in from these players, and I really just have to like Viper's position a whole lot more. Red-blooded Americans? Exactly. Got the red of freedom, not the red of communism. They're two separate concepts, Zally. As a European communist yourself, I'm sure you're not really are familiar with this concept. Another mangonel being donated courtesy of our Cyan player Cloud. Probably not the greatest idea. Also, not the greatest idea to be going for heavy cavalry against Genoese crossbows. That just doesn't really seem like a winning sort of plan in the long term. Viper with the 3 castles to the 1. Gonna be significantly greater trebuchet production despite the trebuchet of Cloud coming out first. Viper does not yet have the Elite Genoese crossbow upgrade, which is a pretty crucial upgrade in terms of improving the unit's fire rate and creation time. So he's probably going to want to nab that one up as soon as possible, but is instead focusing on stuff like 2-man saw, handcart, and ring archer armor, none of which are as important as that elite upgrade in my humble opinion. Cloud now getting fletching for some reason. Probably just to see if this tower can range a villager or 2. But yeah, things starting to look pretty grim here for our Cyan player. Maybe one option for him would be to start adding significant quantities of mangonels and onagers, as they can flatten the Genoese crossbowmen, which only have that 7 range. However, Italians, they have the cheap bombard cannons to potentially snipe those onagers, and it's going to be a little bit of a micro-based dance. Viper's just grabbing all sorts of technologies, improving his economy. Much like here in the South when we had cotton. Before then, the Yankees took away our states' rights and property rights that had, you know, nothing to do with slaves. Just states' rights and property rights. That's called Civil War. The Yankees and carpetbaggers taking up all of our stuff. Sally, even when I'm not talking in my real voice, I say cyan instead of teal all the time. It's the technical name for this color that's used in-game. As teal is much more of a green color than the this color here that's represented in-game. Another castle coming in here for our Cyan player, Cloud. And you know what? He destroyed all the trebs of his opponent, but that was at a fairly significant cost to his cavalier numbers. And the thing is, Viper, he has elite Genoese crossbowmen that are fully upgraded. 5 melee armor on these guys. Oh lordy, that is a lot better armor than you might expect for an archer unit, especially since it is equal to that of a cavalier. My accent lacks consistency. You know what, Dace? I don't know why you'd say that at any point in time. I am a master of the accent. Except this isn't even an accent, this is just my native tone of voice. That is correct. That is correct there, Zally. Cyan is the official word used in-game. Anyway, these trebs are looking mighty exposed here for our yellow player, Viper. But, you know, these Genoese crossbows, they're kind of uncontested, and at some point, if you're Davis Cloud, gotta engage these Genoese crossbows. You know, General Lee, you know, he had to engage General Grant at some point, right? He couldn't just dash through the north without a care in the world. He had to fight the Union Army, right? Yeah, Pete, I suggested onagers for Cloud a while ago, and he doesn't seem to be a big fan of that idea. Just kind of sticking with that heavy cavalry line of play for the time being. Perhaps not even realizing that they are just so terrible against the Genoese crossbows, which I must repeat here, have the same exact armor as the Cavaliers, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. But when we're looking at players with relatively equal sizes of military, you gotta have to favor the dude that has the Genoese crossbow or the dude that has the Cavalier. It's just one of those facts of life. War still merrily on the way over here. Viper even getting the masonry upgrade to help with that castle defense. And every time we see Cloud come in and snipe a trebuchet, it's at, again, a very significant cost to these cavalry units. You don't think Genoese crossbow should work in a World War I? Well, and I don't believe that the Second Amendment is anything but, you know, God's given right to all mankind. You still have the commies in Washington trying to take my guns. You know, they're you know, turning the frogs gay and all that stuff, putting fluoride in our water. Just like you saw in Flint, Michigan. Anyway, more cavalry is coming in to snipe these trebuchets, but you know, these trebuchets aren't standing up too well. They're standing up just about as well as the Mississippi economy right now. However, our Cyan player does have more trebuchets for the time being. Problem is, he doesn't really have much of an army anymore, and the fact that he's transitioning into light cav does not particularly impress me. Why would you go for paladins here? I don't really know, Pete. I don't really know. I mean, I don't disagree with you there, Pete. I do declare that I would prefer myself some archers. We do have this looking little colony over here to the far side of the map here for Cloud. Not really sure why he has a town center and tons of villagers over here. Just kind of odd. Viper's going to be absconding himself with another relic, though. Going to give him 4 out of the 5 relics if he manages to make his way back to the monastery. But like I was saying a second ago, not to beat a dead horse, but eventually, these Cavalier, they need to engage the Genoese crossbows, and in such a time as they engage that full mess of Genoese crossbows, it's just going to be a whole lick of trouble here for our teal player. See, there, I said teal, just to appease those people who really hate me saying Cyan. Trouble War is still continuing, and we do have to take a moment to check each player's stone count. It looks like Cloud has significantly more stone in the bank, having spent a lot less on castles, with the cheap Frank castles also being cheaper to repair. It's a slightly less known statistic about those castles of the Franks. Viper's castle is still in a pretty significantly tricky position. Still doesn't have architecture or hoardings to give him that 7,028 HP on those castles, making it harder to defend than Fort Sumter that are there, and oh boy. Oh lordy. Viper's castle's going down, guys. And, well, Cloud's army is way bigger, but it's mostly cavalry. And turns out that the cavalry unit is very bad against Genoese crossbows. But that's still not enough for Viper to feel like he can take that fight, especially with the trebuchets providing that support artillery fire. And we might just see Viper get overrun here. He really has not a lick of map control. Villagers trying to take down a castle, but that's not going to be too effective. This is a very effective offensive castle position here for our Cyan player Cloud. As Viper is going to eventually start running into the castle fire with these lumberjacks, and he really doesn't have any wood over here. He barely has a lick of wood over here, and another castle coming in here for our Cyan player might just seal the deal for Viper this game. Oh my lord, it is getting hot in here. I think I am having the vipers. Never mind, Genoese crossbows are real good against cavalry. They're real good against cavalry, but it just might not be enough, guys. It just might not be enough. Viper's army is starting to drop quite rapidly. His population is not looking so impressive. Genoese crossbows are quite hard to mass up, and once your population of them starts falling, it becomes quite difficult to get it back up and running once again. Just like the South during Reconstruction, that was kind of a bit hard to get our economies up and rolling again. Viper still does have the score lead for the time being, and does have 4 relics to 0, much like that game against Golden End earlier. Though, funnily enough, we do have a throwing axeman killing a trebuchet, and another one getting converted. Got the good old axe duel over here, as we see in down in Louisiana all the time, with the good old swamp people and their axe duels. Not really talked about too much. Enemy's crossbows are trying to take out these trebuchets. Looks like they were successful in nabbing a couple. Frank skirmishers are real bad guys, if you didn't know. They're actually, I think, even worse than Turk skirmishers. I'm not saying a lot, because Turk skirmishers are pretty bad without the elite upgrade. But I think wood is going to be a pretty big problem here for Viper as this game does progress, because this area is just not particularly safe here for a yellow player. And without any sort of map control, and this wood here all being mined up like have coming into raid, I think it's just going to really start to snowball out of control in favor of our Cyan player Cloud. Now Viper trying to throw in some condos, and he does have plenty of gold, so this might not be the worst idea in the world. But condos, they're just not a particularly impressive combat unit. And I feel that with 153 villagers in the bank here, Cloud should just have the economy to pump out the trash units he needs to start just overwhelming the Viper, totally swamping him, and eventually dropping him out of this here game. Viper, again, trying to maximize the use out of all his units, trying to get some conversions with these here monks. Not going to be too effective, because that's Viper's last castle. With no castles, he can produce no Genoese crossbowmen, and at the point when Viper cannot produce a single Genoese crossbow, that's just going to easily open up the opportunity for Cloud to switch back into heavy cavalry, and no halberdiers for the Italians really does pose quite a conundrum here for a yellow player in terms of dealing with the cavalry units of the Franks. That's a lot of skirmishers, though, and even if they are real bad skirmishers, even real bad skirmishers are going to be at least somewhat effective against these Genoese crossbows. And, oh, hello! Oh, Lord, God, Cloud losing this castle over here. Viper's trying to make this a bit of a comeback, but he's still down about, I don't know, 50 so population? But the thing is, Cloud has 158 villagers. He has way too many villagers right now. He needs some military space. ScarfaceFrostborn, thank you so much for the 5 donated subscribers. I really do appreciate it. Welcome everyone coming over. Xanic Beer, Builder Beast, Norther, Vector 90, and Mock Bear Mode. All welcome all to the Wolf Pack. You're a very generous person to do that for me, Scarface. And I'm sure all these fine members of the Ornlu AoE community will very much appreciate their gifted subscription, which I really do have to remind all y'all with the gifted subs that it is still September, and you can renew that subscription for only a single dollar. Just $1, and you can renew that subscription, and I still get paid the full amount. So it's more of a scam than them their corporate baggers did in '65, coming down south. And the thing is, you can stop now. Why would you think that, Scarface? Why would you think I can stop now? I don't even know how to stop now. This is my voice. And Viper, he's really trying to work his way back into this game. I really was hoping this game would not be over an hour long, but it obviously is. You created a monster. Scarface. I ain't no monster. I'm a gentleman. I'm a man of culture. It's just an American culture that you common Europeans don't understand. Like how actually was converted by this here monk. Yeah, the 3 HP trade was a little bit of a bummer here for the Viper. Yeah, no one wants to see Ornlu no more. They want Shady. Just kidding. That's part of that there hip-hop music, which it's not part of God's music. We only listen to both kinds of music here, country and western. Because that's another reference, because apparently that's all I do, is just make references. Anyway, Viper's working his way, fighting his way out of his base, really sort of struggling to gather some wood income, also still missing most of his secondary gold over here. So I'm sure the 4 relics make up for that to some degree. you know, still with barely a lick of map control. He's just trying to take whatever bit of wood income he can. All of these villagers just sent over here to the front lines, and that's just right next to these archer ranges of our Cyan player Cloud. You have to imagine that eventually he should have a better army and still be able to beat the Viper. Yeah, Cloud has asserted the Skull Lead for the first time in quite a while. KD still not looking so hot, but, you know, even with this castle here falling, Viper's still not in a great position. Just tactically, he still has units running every which way in his base. I think Cloud's large problem is the fact that he just doesn't really have a particularly impressive military size due to having 148 villagers. Look at this man's bank, guys. He's got almost 3.6k wood, 2.3k food. That is just not the amount of resources you need at this point in the game in the bank. You just need units, you need armies, you need to kill your opponents. Reaper? Wish I could cast that man, but I gotta finish this game. I gotta finish what I started, because that's what Americans do. Just like, you know, both world wars. We win them, we finished, and we started. We finished them and we started them, because America. Anyway, Viper is actually evened out the population right now. Cloud's army is dropping faster than something southern and hillbilly-ish. Yeah, it's kind of inexcusable how long Cloud has been housed. Really should just start throwing down some houses when he can. He is taking that last relic, so he will at least have one relic of income, but that's not really a whole lot at this point in the game. And right now, Viper just with a massive army advantage over his opponent. Cloud never really able to get a whole lot of army up and running, just has a lot of population, which isn't really what he needs right now, because the Frank trash line is pretty mediocre, it really has to be said. Franks, not the greatest fighters, and when they don't have the US to bail them out with all of our gold income. Viper now, with access to his secondary gold for the first time in aeons, able to mine plenty of that there juicy gold. Which is somehow juicy. Good old pokey-pokes here of Viper, poking away at this farm land. And yeah, it really doesn't seem like these light cav of Cloud have really ever successfully been stopped by Viper, even coming in here with this here cap ram. And yeah, Viper's really going to be on the ropes at this point. Frank light cav, you know, they're not as good as like a normal light cav, like say Chinese light cav, but at least, you know, at a minimum, they do have 72 HP as opposed to the mere 60 in AOC. Oh yeah, good old Poke Scarface. We here at Ornlu AoE have always been calling this unit here in the yellow with the long stick of Poke. It's just the correct name for said unit. Cloud is now getting chemistry. Not really sure why. There's always a lot of condos on the field. Pretty good against those gunpowder units. And Cloud has been able to sufficiently mass up another army of about 55. Still less than the Viper in terms of military. But Cloud Mining Stone over here may use it to sell for some gold, because some heavy cavalry units would do him mighty fine right now. Oh yeah, you ain't miss a lick of action over here, and I'm really appreciating the fact that the one game that Scarface told me to do a hillbilly accent, his game that's been the longest on the stream by far, is now an hour and 15 minutes. Almost. Yeah, he got his secondary goal over here back, did Viper. And he is far from losing position, considering he has the Skull lead right now, and about a 25 military lead to boot. Because once again, Cloud still probably has too many villagers. And with a bank that large, you really just don't need that many villagers pumping out food and wood, especially when, as the Franks, you really just want to be making gold units whenever possible. Well, these condos are starting to fall, and there's now a relatively healthy mix of Arbalest plus Genoese crossbows, and that is actually a pretty tough composition to break without, you know, any siege units. And you gotta get siege units at some point this game here, Mr. Cloud, because, yeah, you can't really break Viper's army too easily without, say, some homages. Did have a cap ram push over here in the south, which was at least relatively effective, but might be losing a little bit of steam by now. Oh, maybe, I don't know, maybe Cloud's coming in here, boys. Cloud, much like the South, is rising again. Well, Cloud, maybe he's starting to get a little bit more momentum. Maybe Viper ended up doing him a favor by killing some of his villagers. Now Cloud has more population space to start making some army. Viper still doesn't have any castles, so it means he still can't be producing any more Genoese crossbows. And I think if Cloud is able to mass up even a relatively medium amount of paladins or cavaliers or whatever, he should be just fine. One barbed cannon is going to be real slow in taking out this here fortification on this hill for our Cyan player. And the pikemen, they're just coming in one by one, not even with that blast furnace upgrade. Though hilariously, Viper is gathering from this mining camp with one villager. Cloud not getting ballistics, that's an upgrade he probably should have gotten quite some time ago. It's probably contributed in a rather significant way, my bad, to his current predicament of being possibly on the verge of losing this game to our yellow player, TheViper. Well, if there's anything that's been keeping Cloud in this game, it's the fact that he's just done such a fantastic job raiding with these light cav, though. Like I was saying, TheViper, with his 4 relics of income, it's just going to be so nice for him, just so easily able to boost condos, so are at least reasonably good against all those trash units. Cloud needs more eco. Cloud needs more eco, but that eco needs to be in gold income, which it doesn't have because it's an hour and 17 minutes into the game, and it doesn't have a single relic. Remember, long ago in this game, back in the antebellum days, when I said, you know, it was like the Castle Age, and, you know, it was relatively even in terms of map control, and I'm like, hey, Cloud has map control. Why is he allowing Viper, who has no map control, able to take 3 relics? Because that sort of thing could potentially lose him the game if it goes super long. Which doesn't make a single lick of sense for our Cyan player Cloud. Just letting Viper take those relics scot-free. And really, we can see it kind of biting him in the ass over here. Viper will run out of wood eventually, but it's going to be pretty tricky for him to do so because he did at least able to reclaim this wood line over here. Let's check Viper's resources right now, and it's looking relatively healthy, but he's not looking healthy in terms of population. Viper's population is actually dropping rapidly. Viper, where did all your population go? Looks like you were actually just being picked apart by Cloud. Look at all these dead bodies over here, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Viper is down to 120 population. He needs to make this push work over here. His army is quite a bit lower than his opponent's. Is he out of gold now? If by he, you mean Viper, no, he's got 4 relics of income. If you mean our player Cloud, yeah, he is. He has been out of gold for quite some time. Who's this streamer? My name is Cornlu AoE, and I'm an American. I'm an American streamer. If you cannot tell by my accent that I have been using this entire game. In my opinion, Cloud does need to start pushing right now. He has an advantage, and he's got to work with it. Coming in here with a lot of light cav and skirmishers. Viper's producing all the Atari, Super Nintendo that he can. Oh, Viper also losing all 4 of his relics at once to this cap ram. This is a pretty big problem for him, but the problem is for Cloud that, well, all the light cav have been cleaned up, and condos are such an effective unit against this trash army of Cloud. And yeah, those are some dead armies for our Cyan player, and the, well, population's getting even once again, ladies and gentlemen. But now, we might see a problem here for Viper in that he just does not have the economy of his opponent. Cloud just spent a ton of resources on something, not really sure what, maybe just queuing up some more light cav, if I had to guess. And Cloud, you know, he's able to get back up to 200 population relatively quickly. Viper, he's out of money. Viper is dead broke right now. Much like my grandpappy. Just out of money. Didn't have enough bank to let him off in retirement. Should tech Hussar? I do tend to agree with that, and at this point in the game, you should have a fully realized trash tech tree. Turbo YouTuber, I never said that at any point in time. I still don't think condos are a great combat unit. Condos are like that expensive quick fix option. It's like going to the emergency room here in America. You know, it's a quick fix option if you really need the health care, but, you know, it's real expensive. It's not something that's exactly sustainable over a long period of time. Yeah, Cornlu is my name. I hope you enjoyed this cast courtesy of Cornlu. I think that is an excellent point to be made there, Pete. Viper losing more and more villagers at the front of his base, though. He is down to 66 villagers, everybody, and almost half of his economy is currently sitting idle. I think that things are starting to look quite grim here for a yellow player. A yellow-bellied yellow player. You just see more and more trash streaming in here from Cloud. This is sort of the incidental bonus of his overbooming earlier, where he just has all the food in the wood in the world to spend on these here trash units. Hi Van AOC, welcome back to the stream. As a fellow American, I'm sure you can really appreciate this this natural voice of mine that is in no way a fabricated accent done for the selling out purposes of ScarfaceFrostborn. How long will I stream today? This is probably going to be my last game, Turbo NoobTuber, because this voice is pretty hard to do for us an extended period of time. Oh yeah, Raiden is real tricky to deal with in these late game 1v1 Arabia situations. And that's going to be the GG. Viper calling the GG there, and there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we went through an entire game with that voice, an hour and 26 minutes long. Cloud eventually beating down the Viper, grinding him down. Negative KD here for a Cyan player, but just look at that economic difference, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter that Viper had 5k more gold. He just didn't have enough food just to throw unit after unit after unit at his opponent. He even had more wood income despite being trapped in that corner of the map. And, well, there's the overbooming here from Cloud, eventually even paying off in the long run. And with that, oh my god. Whew. Whew. That did a doozy on my voice. I hope you all appreciated that. Sorry, Cornlu had to take over right there.